Welcome, everyone, to The Explainer. I am so incredibly pumped to have you here today because, wow, do we have a fascinating topic lined up. When I say digital heist, I bet your mind goes straight to, hooded hackers and dark basements cracking into highly secure bank vaults, right? Well, today, we're looking at a completely different kind of theft. One that doesn't look like a computer glitch and honestly doesn't even trigger your typical security alarms. We are going to map out the anatomy of a truly modern digital heist. Now, come on, be honest with me for a second. Have you ever maybe used a fake email address or just added that little plus sign and a number to your current one just to score a second free 30-day trial for a streaming service? Or maybe to snag that sweet 10% off coupon one more time? Hey, it's a classic move. It feels like a harmless, clever little life hack, right? Well, buckle up, because we're about to make a pretty abrupt pivot from that innocent customer opportunism right into the dark, highly lucrative reality of organized cybercrime. Okay, let's dive into this. At its very core, promotional abuse is exactly what it sounds like. It's when bad actors exploit offers. Think sign-up bonuses, referral rewards, discounts, vouchers, cashback, free trials, all that good stuff, specifically for financial gain, by breaching the intended rules of that promotion. This isn't just an oopsie or an accident. It is the deliberate, calculated manipulation of offer terms to extract real value. So moving into Section 1, the free money illusion. We're going from life hack to financial crime. Let's trace exactly how this narrative arc evolves from, somebody just wanting a cheaper pizza on a Friday night to a highly coordinated attack on digital businesses. We really have to separate the myth from the reality here. Because on one side, sure, we have ordinary customer opportunism. But on the other side, what we're actually dealing with in these severe cases is a structured fraud typology. We aren't just talking about a single user bending a rule anymore. We're talking about massive, organized operations leveraging false identities, duplicate accounts, device manipulation, and even colluding to launder all that promotional value through goods or resale. It's wild. Which brings us to Section 2, attacking the business logic. This is the real target of the heist. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is understanding exactly what these guys are targeting. If they aren't directly hacking bank vaults, what are they actually breaking into? Well, that's what separates traditional fraud from promotional abuse. Traditional fraud goes straight for the payment rails, attacking bank accounts directly, almost always using stolen credit cards. But promotional abuse, that targets the business logic. It attacks a platform's eligibility rules and underlying validations by ruthlessly exploiting promos and referral links. As industry experts point out, and this is absolutely crucial to understand, the crime happens entirely in the validation code. The fraudster isn't necessarily attacking a bank account directly at first. Instead, they exploit weaknesses in how a platform applies eligibility rules. They find the tiny little cracks in how a system validates whether an account is unique, how it links up referrals, or how it enforces voucher conditions. Basically, they are weaponizing the platform's own rules against it. And because of this highly specific approach, promotional abuse acts like a giant nexus for several major fraud categories all at once. It intersects really heavily with first-party fraud, where someone dishonestly uses their own real identity. It crosses right over into identity misuse, where they use stolen info. And it relies incredibly heavily on account farming and overall platform abuse to generate enough of these synthetic accounts to actually make the whole effort profitable. All right, Section 3, the fraudster's digital toolkit. Let's look at scaling the operation. Listen, to drain literally millions of dollars from promotional budgets, these bad actors definitely aren't doing things manually, one by one. No way. They need a sophisticated, automated toolkit. They deploy synthetic and fake identities right alongside stolen payment credentials. But what's truly terrifying here is their use of cloned apps and device emulators. In fact, industry data from Experian explicitly highlights this. Fraudsters use these emulated environments to just churn out massive numbers of fake accounts in incredibly short periods of time, purely to exploit new customer offers at scale. So, who's the most vulnerable to this crazy automated toolkit? Well, the prime targets are typically industries like food delivery and ride-hailing platforms. And if you think about it, why? Because their entire business model literally depends on automated, low-friction onboarding. They want legitimate customers to be able to sign up and order a ride or a meal in literally seconds. But unfortunately, that exact same low-friction environment makes it incredibly easy for fraudsters to scale their automated attacks right through the front door. Once they're actually in, what are they stealing? Well, industry experts at places like Unit 21 and FraudNet have observed massive exploitation through repeated sign-up bonus claims and completely disguised self-referrals. They'll exploit introductory pricing, figure out tricky ways to reuse one-time discount codes way beyond their intended limits, and heavily manipulate loyalty benefits. Make no mistake, this is the digital loot they are walking away with. Moving on to Section 4, hiding in plain sight. The perfect disguise. This brings us to a frankly terrifying question. How on earth can millions of dollars in promotional value just vanish without any alarm sounding? Well, so the crucial point is that promotional abuse can look superficially like ordinary customer acquisition activity. Think about it. To a business dashboard, a massive automated fraud attack just looks like incredibly rapid, successful growth. A sign-up seems totally genuine, a referral looks totally legitimate in isolation. The marketing team might literally be popping champagne celebrating a huge spike in new users, completely unaware that a fraud farm is quietly draining their entire budget. To actually uncover this camouflage, investigators really have to look beyond the surface and connect the dots. First, you have to analyze shared devices to see if hundreds of accounts are secretly coming from just one single phone. Step 2 involves tracking reused contact points, like heavily recycled phone numbers. Then Step 3, detecting linked funding sources across supposedly unrelated users. And finally, Step 4, monitoring for clusters of unusual redemption timing. You are basically hunting for accounts that behave way too perfectly alike. Okay, Section 5, building the defense. Time to talk about stopping the bleeding. Now that we know exactly how the heist works, let's look at how businesses can actually fight back. The very first step to building a defense is just accepting this harsh reality. Simple technical validation is completely obsolete against modern account farming. A mature control response requires so much more than just checking whether a promo code technically works. Because think about it, if the code goes through, that tells you absolutely nothing about the legitimacy of the person or the bot that's entering it. To truly stop the bleeding, you need advanced behavioral controls built right into the business logic. We're talking stringent identity controls, deep device and behavioral analytics to catch those sneaky emulators, really complex referral link analysis, continuous linked account detection, and overall abuse rate monitoring. You can't just monitor the code, you have to monitor the human behavior, or lack thereof, behind the screen. And industry guidance really points to a harsh but absolutely necessary truth here. Promotional abuse is a fraud problem created by weak eligibility and validation controls, not just by dishonest customers. At the end of the day, the vulnerability lies entirely within the platform's design itself. If your digital doors are left wide open without proper validation in place, well, you are literally inviting the thieves inside. Just a really quick note for accuracy before we wrap things up today. The term promotional abuse is primarily an industry fraud label used by prevention professionals. It's actually not a standardized regulatory or legal term. But even so, the meaning remains remarkably consistent across the entire industry. It's the exploitation of promotional offers for improper financial gain. Which brings us to our final drop the mic question. I really want you to ask yourself or the organization you work for, are your digital promotions actually growing your business? Or are they just funding fraudsters? It's a highly provocative question, but for sure a critical one. I really hope this explainer has given you the structural knowledge you need to go out there, audit those systems, and find out the truth. Thank you so much for joining me today. And hey, keep questioning the systems around you.